Hello. We actually have a question time. Uh, Partly that's my fault that it took so long. I think because I had posted a busted link and things were wrong with the Google form. But we got them working now. I'm going through and changing all the old links to the proper link, so hopefully people will see that and just click on it when they have questions, and I can answer questions, give my thoughts on things. For people who don't actually know me, I love history. I pay attention to current events, and I love games. So I've got a lot to say about these things. You can actually kind of see the massive mess I've made of my books at the moment. Uh, they are going. I'm going through and actually, I don't have any here that I can show you with, but I'm putting on little tags with their Library of Congress number or an approximate um, based on them not having a number but being able to kind of categorize them, properly. And then they're all going to get reshelved with their proper numbers and organized by Library of Congress organization. That's going to be great. It's taking a while and it's a mess. But that's not the question. The question we have three questions, and I'm going to save the other two for a little bit because one, I want to gather some footage to really give a thorough answer, and the other, uh, it's just going to take a lot of explaining and me deciding what I want to explain first. But anyway, here's the question we're going to talk about today. Quote, how are the Olympics going on with the situations in Ukraine and China both? Is everyone effectively turning a blind eye? Is that problematic or is it necessary? Excuse me. Okay, so the Olympics. When one of the founding thoughts, like philosophies behind the Olympics, when they were recreated in the late 19th century, was to bring back a certain togetherness that the original Greek Olympics did for the Greek city states. One of the things that the original ancient Olympics had was what was something known as the Olympic Truce. The point of this was that that all fighting between these Greek cities that partook stopped during the Olympics to make sure that the city hosting them wasn't attacked and to make sure that all the athletes could get to and from the Olympics without, you know, being killed, or captured or whatever. So that was something that they brought with them to, that the founders of the modern Olympics brought forward with them, the notion of the Olympic truce. And in theory, the Olympic truce is supposed to happen. Why I say in theory? Well, okay, for the ancient Greeks, the Olympics had a religious component to it. This was part of worship of Zeus. This was not just sports games. This was important to the function of society and the continuation of prosperity and all of that. The Olympics are sporting events for us. Really high end sporting events, but sporting events. There theoretically is an Olympic truce that all the people coming to the Olympics are supposed to observe. But then, there's been fighting in Syria for the past 10 years, Whenever I don't think we barred Sri Lanka when they had a 22-year long civil war that just ended about, I think, 10, 15 years ago. Nor do we bar Colombia, even though they have to continually fight FARC. And we were in Iraq and Afghanistan through many Olympics. And so, Olympic truce, okay, you could say that none of the country that we weren't fighting countries that were also represented at the Olympics. It's looking specifically at whatever is happening with Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine some days says that Russia's going to invade. Some days they say they're not going to invade. The United States says that we think there's going to be an armed conflict there. Russia says, no, you're crazy. Whatever's happening there, we can assume the worst for the point of this question. Um, so, wow, we got a car alarm now. That's nice. I have no idea how loud that is for you. I'm just going to talk through this, and if I have to come back and re record it, so be it. Okay, so we have the fight in Ukraine, potential fight in Ukraine. So, if that were to happen, that would be two Olympic states fighting each other. Does that mean would that wait until after the Olympics? Would that think? We have to remember something here. The Olympics are sporting events. Wars are fought over way more than sports. Just what it is. So I don't think you're going to ever see an Olympic truce actually stop a war. For example, in World War II, we skipped the Olympics. They didn't happen. They didn't happen while everyone was fighting World War II because no one was going to stop fighting World War II for 3 weeks, send a bunch of athletes to who knows where, and then be done with it and then start fighting again because we don't have this religious component to it. So the Olympic truce doesn't really do anything one way or another. Now, when we're talking about China, China's in the news a lot here. There's the I always wildly mispronounce names that I haven't heard a lot of times and I've mostly read. But so you have the Muslim population in northwest of China. I'm going to try to pronounce it Uyghur. Don't know if that's anywhere near correct, but we have the stories that come out of China about basically concentration camps, re-education camps, 1 million people incarcerated, trying to stamp out religion, not letting them wear their beards, making them, being someone praying a bunch is considered a sign of extremism. You have that going on. That's problematic. Absolutely. No question about it. But you got to remember, this isn't the only problematic thing China's been up to. If you want a really dark rabbit hole to go down, you can start looking into their organ on demand program. That's right. In China, if you have the money, you can have an organ. Whatever organ you need, they'll find you a match. Think about how that works. Because organs don't stay good for very long outside a body. That means that as you need it, as you pay for it, they just have it. Means it was in somebody right up until when you paid for it. And there's a lot of demand. So there has to be a lot of supply. More than just people who would be donating organs in this country. Give you one better to make this a little clearer. It's done on people who are incarcerated. More than that, it's done on people who are a particular religious sect of Buddhists who or Buddhist derivatives gets thing. We've had doctors who've escaped China and then claim that they were part of that program, that they removed these organs from living people without proper anesthesia, and that those people were then put into incinerators while they were still alive. That's that's part of China. That is part of what goes on there. Now, this obviously is a little different because this Olympics specifically, because it's in China. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. The United States has responded to that problem by doing a diplomatic embargo of this Olympics, meaning that no elected political official, no appointed official, no one who could be considered a representative of the United States government is going to China to attend these Olympics. What does that mean in the long term? Not a lot. Should they do more? Should we have boycotted the Olympics? Well, that would be unfortunate for the athletes were who this would be their prime season for competition. Because everyone has a kind of a biological clock on that. You might still be great in 4 years, but someone who's a little young now will be in their prime, so maybe you wouldn't get your chance. Um, or you get injured, or athletes, time is very rough on them. That would that have been a better option? Maybe that might have been better. It wouldn't have stopped the rest of the world from going. Maybe England might have embargoed too. Maybe Australia, but probably not. But most of the rest of the world would go. Would that be enough? Do you need more? Well, then we get into the really sticky geopolitics of U.S. China relations and the fact that we both basically need each other to exist at this point, but really don't like, neither one of us like that scenario. And we're kind of slowly getting into a race. Not so slowly. We're a little bit getting into a race of who can be more independent first. Because, not because we would then abruptly break with China and not interact at all at that point, but whoever could say, you know what, I don't need your stuff first, has a massive diplomatic advantage in negotiations. Just kind of makes sense. But it's really sticky because everything's interconnected in this modern world. There's, you know, the way, the speed at things move, it's really sticky. So, would it have been nice for this not to be in China and not to be a big moment for China to go, oh, yay, look at how great we are? Yes. But can we do anything about it? We did a little thing. We could have done a little more. Really hard to do more than that, though. We don't have, I mean, the United States and our allies don't have the power to just stop the Olympics. Look at what's happening in Europe with the tensions between Ukraine and Russia. Our allies there, we can't agree on what's even happening there, all 100%. You know, the British are very gung-ho with, you know, offering support to Ukraine, and we're trying to broker a peace. France is being kind of shifty about exactly what they think is going on there, but they kind of want to be able to pivot to whichever way this breaks down. And the Germans are like, man, if Ukraine gets invaded, Ukraine doesn't get invaded, whatever. And those are our allies, and that's a single crystallized issue that's facing all of us. The issue of China is so much more complicated, a web of things, that the Olympics in China is kind of a hard point to try to work off of. It's more indicative of what we've done up until this point. It's more indicative of what our general strategies have been. And it's, I mean, it's really pretty spot on. Where on the high political level, we're building up some tension, but we're on the base level of the competition, we're still integrated, and it's kind of a great metaphor for that. The Russia and Ukraine business, wars are going to happen regardless of when the Olympics are. It's simply what it is. Should we stop the Olympics because of that potential war happening there, or happening in, say, Africa or in South Asia, or coups in Myanmar/Burma, a lot of coups in Western Africa right now. So that gets to be a hard question. If war is localized enough, like in, I can't remember which country. There was just this past week, a coup attempt in a West African country, and I can't remember which one it was. that failed. Well, that's huge. That's absolutely enormous in that country. But it's a country of, I think, like 5 or 6 million people. It's a smaller West African state. It's fairly desertous, if I remember right. Anyway, that gets complicated. Do you cancel the Olympics for that? Because there's always something going on. There's always something happening. World War II, everybody's involved in something. No Olympics. You know, it. I realize that my answer here is mostly, but a lot of this stuff in current events, there isn't a right answer. There just simply is not. There are an array of facts, an array of things to consider, and then you personally need to make your decision about what policy should or should not be based on how you are going to weigh those individual factors against one another. And I can't do that for you. I don't think you want me to do that for you either. But hopefully, now you have a little bit more backing to think about it. If this spawned more questions about anything I said, you want to get argumented, you want to debate any point, throw it in the comments, throw it into the now correct link that I have for answers, for questions. I have 2 more questions about video games for 2 more answer times. I hope to get one of those out this week. I realized that I forgot to do a book thoughts on the end of the Dread Empire series, the last trilogy. Don't know how I forgot that. I loved the end. It was very fascinating. So I need to do that. And I have book thoughts not about a specific book that I'm going to tease by just saying that. It's about a way of reading that history taught me that I brought over to my fiction reading that, I don't know, I think it opens up a different way of reading, different way of appreciating the fiction, and I want to share it with you. That's all I'm going to say about it until I finally get around to making a video. Yeah, more Hitman. Ask questions. I'll keep answering questions, and have a good one. All right. Bye-bye.